Hello, Algebra, and welcome to lesson 4 of Unit 3. We are going to be doing some more stuff with systems. This time it's going to be word problems. So everybody's favorite, I know. I'm going to give you kind of a basic 3 steps when you're going through solving word problems. Not saying it's easier, but you kind of want to follow this basic idea. So the first one, define your variables. Identify what you are trying to find. And with a system, right, there's 2 variables, right? So there's going to be 2 things that you're looking for. Number 2, use what you know to write 2 equations. This is usually the hardest part for most people, because once you have the equations, you solve the system, which we've done. That's lessons 2 and 3. You just solve the system using either substitution or elimination. All right. So the rest of this video, we're just going to look at some examples. Okay. So number 1, the Colts have scored 225 points so far this season. The number of touchdowns is 3 more than double the number of field goals. Assuming they have only scored on touchdowns, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that those are 7 points, and field goals, which are 3 points, how many touchdowns have the Colts scored? How many field goals? So defining the variables, well, you can look at the question. This one's pretty easy. The 2 things we're looking for is how many touchdowns and how many field goals. All right, so I'll just use T and D. You could use X and Y. I'll say T is number of touchdowns, and we'll say F is number of field goals. All right, so now we want to write 2 equations. Now, there's an equation that compares TDs or touchdowns and field goals. There's a sentence up here in the words that explain or that compares those 2 things. Hopefully you see it. It is the second sentence. That is going to give me my first equation here. The number of touchdowns, I'm going to replace those words, the number of touchdowns, with the letter T. Means equals 3. Well, we know what that is. More than means plus. Double the number of field goals. So double means times 2. So 2 times, so that's the double part, the number of field goals. Well, I know that the number of field goals is, I called that my F. And there's my first equation. T equals 3 plus 2F. And I'm going to write that on the line. T equals 3 plus 2F. Total points now. So we're going to look at an equation that talks about total points. Where does it talk about total points? Well, it talks about how many points a touchdown is worth, and it talks about how many points a field goal is worth. So a touchdown is worth 7 points. So 7 times the number of touchdowns. So if I score 3 touchdowns, 7 times 3, 21. I got 21 points from touchdowns. Field goals are 3 points. So that's 3F. I kick a field goal. Let's say I kick 4 field goals. Each of them's worth 3 points. That's 12 points. What do I do with the number of points from touchdowns and the number of points from field goals? I add them together, and that equals the points they've scored so far, which is 225. There's step 2. Those are the 2 equations. I'm not always going to tell you this part right here. You're going to have to be able to identify those on your own. But for this first problem, I did. I'm going to go quickly now because this is what we've done in lesson 2 and 3. I'm going to do substitution because I have T by itself. So 7 times 3 plus 2F plus 3F equals 225. Distribute 21 plus 14F plus 3F equals 225. 14 plus 3 is 17F. I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 21 from both sides. It gives me 204. Divide by 17, and I get F. So F equals whatever 204 divided by 17 is. Grabbing a calculator right now. It is 12. So 12 field goals so far this season. Well, how many touchdowns then? Let's go ahead and plug that back in. T equals 3 plus 2 times the number of field goals, which we know is 12. 2 times 12 is 24, plus 3. Okay. Oops, I did 2 pluses there. And 3 plus 24, you get it. It's 27 touchdowns. All right. There's your first example. Second example. Tyler and Stephanie bought some DVDs and Blu-rays during the Black Friday sales this past Friday. Tyler bought 12 DVDs and 5 Blu-rays and spent $60.88. Stephanie bought 4 DVDs and 7 Blu-rays and spent $46.96. What was the average price for a DVD and for a Blu-ray? All right, so, oops, wrong button. Okay, so we're gonna look at Tyler first. What did Tyler do? Tyler bought 12 DVDs. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping to step 2. I need to identify. We'll go D is the, look at the question, the price for a DVD. It's not the number of, it's the price of. And then B, I'll do B is the price for a Blu-ray. Go ahead and say BR. All right. So now we're looking at Tyler. Tyler bought 12 DVDs. So 12 times the price, which we don't know, is D. And 5 Blu-rays. So 5B. You add those two, the DVD cost plus the Blu-ray cost, and you get what his total was $60.88. Move on to Stephanie. Stephanie bought 4 DVDs and 7 Blu-rays. 4 DVDs, 7 Blu-rays, and spent $46.96. All right, there's my equations. Hopefully you're realizing this is pretty clearly elimination because both of them are in standard form. I'm going to multiply this bottom one by -3, which is going to give me -12D, -21B, and negative something. 46.96 times -3 is -140.88. I'm going to drop down my my red equation here just to line everything up. Good habit to get into. And now I can add and eliminate the DVDs. -12 plus 12 is 0. -21 plus 5 is -16. -140.88 plus 60.88 is -80. Divide by -16, I get B equals +5. So Blu-ray is 5. Now make sure you put the right label. Don't put 5 Blu-rays. That's not what we found. We found the price for a Blu-ray. So the Blu-ray was $5. All right, so if the Blu-ray was $5, how much was the DVD? Let's plug it back in. I'll go with the blue one, Stephanie's. 4D plus 7 times 5 equals 46.96. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract 35. So her 4 DVDs cost 46.96 minus the 35. It cost $11.96. Divide that by 4. Each DVD was $2.99. All right. There's number 2. You're going to see a lot of those types of problems as well. So recapping so far, the first example had a comparison equation and a total points equation. The second one was both in standard form. You're going to see those a lot too. Example 3, 4, and 5. Yes, I know we got a lot of examples here. Let's go ahead and jump in. So how many of each coin do I have? Notice I just jumped straight to the end. How many of each coin? Well, which coins am I talking about? Q, quarters, and nickels. So I'll say Q is the number of quarters. N is the number of nickels. And let's write 2 equations. So Quarters and nickels, you need to know about those. Those have amounts. So a quarter is worth 25 cents. Now, how do I write 25 cents? 0.25 times the number of quarters. So if I have 5 quarters, I multiply by 0.25, I get 1.25. That's the amount of money I have from quarters. Nickels are 5 cents a piece. So I can't put 0.5, that would be 50 cents. It's 0.05 N. And that's the amount of money I get from nickels. The amount of money that I have total is $6.05. I know it's a kind of an ugly equation, but I'm going to fix that here in a little bit. Second equation is looking at just the number of coins. So we know that there's 37 coins total. We know that there's 37. There could be 20 quarters and 17 nickels. There could be 30 quarters and 7 nickels. We don't know the combination though. But the number of quarters, which is Q, plus the number of nickels, which is N, adds up to 37. All right, now we solve. Again, this one looks disgusting because of those decimals there. I have a way of getting rid of those decimals. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 100. Whoa, why that number? When I multiply by 100, I'm changing it from cents or from dollars to cents because there's 100 cents in $1. That's what I'm doing. 100 times 0.25 is 25 Q. 100 times 0.05 is 5 N. And 100 times 6.05 is 605. So what happened? In each of those, the decimal moved 2 spots to the right, which canceled the decimal in all of them. Okay, now we had a decimal in the previous problem, example 2. We could have done it there, but we would have made our numbers much bigger. If you have a question about that, put a little star here and I'll talk about it in class. I'm going to rewrite this down here. Q plus 5, or sorry, not 5. Q plus N equals 37. I'm going to go ahead and do elimination. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by -5, which is going to give me -5Q, -5N, and 37 times -5 is -185. So 25Q plus 5N equals 605. Add these up. 25 and -5 is 20Q. 5N and -5N cancel. 605 minus 185 is 420. Divide by 20, I get Q equals 21. So there's 21 quarters. And plug it back in, and I should get 16 nickels. All right. Number 4. Julie has $554 in her savings account. She deposits or puts money into this account, $12 per week. She has a checking account with $770 from which she withdraws. So she takes money out. At this rate, how many weeks until her 2 accounts have the same amount in them? Well, the 2 things we're trying to figure out, or not really figure out, are the 2 things that are unknown. W is the number of weeks, and A is the amount in her account. Now she has 2 accounts, so there's 2 different amounts, but that's okay. Let's look at a savings account equation. The amount in her savings account is $554 to start, but she's depositing or adding $12 per week. For her checking account, she starts with $770, but she starts subtracting $15 per week. So eventually they're going to cross, right? The red one is decreasing, the green one is increasing, and they're going to eventually have the same amount. How do I solve it? This is a substitution because A is by itself. I'm going to put 554 plus 12W right there. 554 plus 12W equals 770 minus 15W. Add 15W. 770 minus 554 is 216. Divide by 27. I get 8. So W equals 8. 8 weeks. Now we answered the question. I don't need to plug that back in. I could and get how much is in each account at that time. They would be equal, but I don't need to because I've answered the question. How many weeks until the two accounts have the same amount? 8. Done. Okay. Last one. Suppose you're trying to decide whether to buy or rent ski equipment. You find out that it costs $60 per day to rent ski equipment and buy a lift ticket. So $60 a day gets you the ski equipment and a lift ticket. If you've ever gone skiing, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's $60 a day to basically go skiing. You could buy ski equipment for $400. A lift ticket alone costs $20 per day. So it does still cost you something per day, even if you have your own ski equipment. If you are planning on skiing for 8 days this winter, should you buy the equipment? So let's take a look at it. So renting. Before I do that, let's define our variables. So the thing we don't know is number of days. Yes, I know I said we're looking at specifically the 8 days, but let's look more in general. When is it going to be the same? Okay. And so we'll say C is total cost. The other thing we don't know. So let's look at the total cost for renting. For renting, it's $60 per day. That's it. For buying, the cost is $400 for the equipment, plus $20 per day for the lift ticket. This is very similar to number 4. I can take 60D, put it in for C, and solve this for D. So subtract 20D. I get 40D equals 400. D equals 10. So what does that mean? That means at 10 days of skiing, the cost is going to be the same. Okay. Should you buy the equipment? It's a loaded question. We're just assuming that maybe after the winter season, you're going to resell the ski equipment. Did you get your money's worth? No, you should not buy the ski equipment because 10 days is what it would take to make your money back. You would save enough money from the renting after 10 days to make up what it cost you to buy the ski equipment. So no, if you're only going skiing for 8 days, not a good buy. When would it be better to buy the equipment? Anything more than 10 days. Okay. All right. I know that was a long video. Thanks for paying attention. We're going to do a lot of work with this. Let me know if you have any questions.